I'm doing this monologue today because over the weekend, I was going through my social media and I received a message. Actually, it was a comment in one of my posts from Jason Huff. Now, Jason, I've met many years ago. He lives out in the Pacific Northwest. He's got his own business called Dauntless Maritime. And Jason has had a career that's brought him to both coasts of our continent. He's been at Revitalize Shipyard working as project manager. I think when I met him, he was or had just left Dakota Creek Industries, was working at Northern Marine. About the same time I was working with Bud Lemieux as that shipyard was started. I do know he worked with Westport Shipyards and Platypus Marine as well in Canada and in Washington, Florida. Jason's been around, and he's been around for a while, at least 20 years. And this is what he wrote. And I wanted to share this because it resonates so well with the messaging that I'm trying to communicate through this podcast. Jason says, "My career in yacht building does not span as far back as the three of you, but I do feel privileged to have been deep into the industry during its heyday. From the late 90s until about 2015, the U.S. was a powerhouse supplier of new construction. A few hung on longer, but by the late 20 teens, you could count the number of active new builds on one hand. Sound familiar? Having worked directly for and with customers at others, I felt a pride to know the faces and determination to keep this unique industry alive. It's not going too well, with the exception of Berger, and it's more than just a little disconcerting. The decision to build offshore is an owner's call, often motivated by the most bang for the buck. Most buyers are still American. What had made it so difficult for America to climb up? I have high hopes for Berger. I think with refocus, Westport too could experience growth. Delta has a tough hill to climb, but has the heritage. I agree. Sounds like a good topic for a show, Rick. An interesting interview with recent new construction. An interesting interview with recent new construction yacht buyers that help us understand what the U.S. is doing wrong. Jason, I got to tell you, that's already my mission statement. That's my goal here. My first interview was with Bobby Genovese, a fairly well-known yacht owner. He owns Motor Yacht BG Charade. I'm going to be sitting with John Staluppi in a couple of weeks. We'll be having a conversation. I'm actually going to have another conversation with Bobby Genovese, and I'm constantly looking for yacht owners that are willing to sit down and share their insight and thoughts about their ownership experience and also what drives their decision making as to where they're going to either build or refit their boats. Like you, I have high hopes for this industry. Also like you, I go back to the days when there were over 40 shipyards building cruise-served yachts, I'd say 80 foot and larger in North America, United States and Canada. And yeah, like you said in your message to me over the weekend, there's less than 5. You did identify, I think, the 3 most viable shipyards, Berger, Delta, Westport. And I'm pleased that these 3 shipyards have always maintained a high standard of quality and attention to detail in their shipbuilding and have legacy brands that I think bring value to owners. Yeah, we want to go deeper into this and figure out what we can do as an industry to bring back yacht building and refit work here in North America. The 2 gentlemen that Jason mentions in his message are Tim Kings and Doug Hoogs, 2 gentlemen that I started building boats with in the late 80s and early 90s. These 2 guys are still at it. They're getting ready to open up a shipyard facility in Mexico, in the Yucatan, on the Caribbean side of the country. They've got a tall hill to climb as well. Any new venture is ripe with challenges, and it's going to take a few high net worth individuals to bring confidence and capital to the table to make their venture a success. But I think as an industry, we should all wish them well and support their endeavor to bring manufacturing and services to the industry in the Yucatan. I guess we'll go into the week and we'll go into the upcoming Palm Beach Yacht Show, Palm Beach Boat Show. I like to call it the Yacht Show. I think it's really relevant. One of the best venues we have in North America for the large yacht industry to think about this. Think about what it's going to take to keep refits here in the United States and Canada and Mexico. What it's going to take to convince a few high net worth individuals to consider putting their money or keeping the money here in North America, whether it's building a new boat, refitting the boat they've got. And then ask smart questions. Where did we lose it? Is it purely economic pressures? There's no question. There's a lot of that. I think the economics are something that are a challenge. But that said, take a look at what they're doing in Northern Europe and the boats they're building in Northern Europe, and they're not giving those away. Those boats are expensive to build and built to a high standard, and the owners who are building those boats are spending a lot of money to have them built. So it's not just the dollars or the euros. It's, I think, culture. I think it's perceived value. It's pedigree, branding, brand name recognition, shipyard support. You got to give credit where credit's due. FedShip does an amazing job of building a culture around their clients that entice their clients to build more FedShips and to refit with FedShip. And I think that's a business model we can take a look at and at some level emulate. I think it's important that we recognize what it is that keeps the owners and the crew engaged with a particular shipyard or particular brand. Yeah, so there's no quick fix. I don't think anything's going to change fundamentally in the next year or two or three, but even the largest ships can be turned and change course and direction over time. So let's think about this as an industry. And I would even say so much that the international yachting industry will benefit from a more robust U.S. yachting industry. I would encourage the whole industry to get behind the shipyards that do exist here in the United States and support them in any way that makes sense. I'll always do that. And I would encourage those that follow this podcast to keep that in the back of your mind. Resources are precious, and we should certainly take care of the few resources we have left in shipbuilding here in the United States. With that thought, Jason, I thank you very much for taking your time to leave such a lovely message. I hope everybody will think about their role in this industry. And if you've got any more thoughts about how I can bring more content, more insight to the table through my podcast, follow suit with what Jason did. Send me a message. Let's talk about it. Until the next opportunity we have to get together, thank you for your time. See you in Palm Beach. I'm out of here.